welcome back to another video. Today I am reviewing one of the most interesting animes that came out a while ago. Now this is that time that I got reincarnated as a slime, part 1, season 1 from Manga Entertainment, and it has one of the best ending to the episodes of season 1 or episode 1 that I've seen for a long time. Now, if you like this sort of content and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop, and let's jump straight into it. Now, I will say this now, the ending to this, the ending to this anime is, or the first episode, is when the main character gets stabbed, he dies, and such. He asks, his last request is that his hard drive gets gets dumped in the bath and wiped, and it does it. I just genuinely laughed because that's something that we all say, like, you know, if he literally dumps it in the bath, and that's one thing we always ask, please wipe our internet history. So when they put this in, I generally kind of thought it was fun. The main premise of the story is it's an isekai, and I like isekai animes. I feel like they're slightly different. There's loads of them, believe me, but this one has been one of the most interesting ones. So you've got Satoru, which I think is the main character. He is basically out to meet his friend, and his friend kind of like it wants to show off his girlfriend and make him jealous. But in the end, Satoru gets stabbed, so therefore, as he's dying, he's kind of gaining these abilities, and it's really weird. It's like gain this, you know, stab resistance, you know, heat resistance, this sort of stuff. But Satoru doesn't understand, because as he's passing on, he's saying all these things like, "Oh my god, I'm so hot. Why am I so cold?" And this computer voice, this grand wizard, is kind of like giving him, or saying like all these things like, you're gaining these abilities, which I really liked. I thought it was a unique thing that we don't normally see. One thing in this is, as soon as he gets these abilities, it feels like he's being overpowered, and it's stuff like, you're way too powerful to do this. So he gets reincarnated as a slime, and he learns all these abilities. He meets a massive dragon called Veldora, and he gives him the surname Tempest, so Veldora Tempest, and he absorbs this dragon. He gets all the power. He eats all these flowers, he eats all these like magnetite crystals, whatever, and obviously he's storing them up in his like kind of slime stomach, which is kind of like another reality effectively. It's like a storage unit. And I thought, you know what, this is really cool. I like what they're doing, and you know, you'd spend time. Now if that was me, because when the slime, he calls himself, or Veldora calls him Rimuru. So with Rimuru, he then leaves quite easily. I would have spent a lot more time eating all the crystals, like leaving that place bare. Don't even like, not even a glimmer. I would have eaten everything, because you never know what's going to happen. But I'm guessing you could go back at any point and take them. So it's kind of an interesting element. So as soon as Rimuru absorbs Veldora, he then goes on like kind of a rampage, kills loads of monsters with his abilities, and gains their abilities. So he has an ability called Predator. Predator is able to absorb other people's abilities, analyze them and stuff, and I really like that. And also he can turn into those animals, so that does kind of help much later on when it comes to it. So when he leaves the cabin or the cave, he meets 3 kind of adventurers who you kind of think maybe might be the ones that you never see ever again, but you do. You see them much later. So he escapes, he meets this goblin. Now when I first watched this, I thought the goblin arc was like really quick, like maybe 5 or 6 episodes, and then you never see them again. But they become a very big kind of element. So Rimuru finds out more and more about his power. Now he's way overpowered anyway. So he gives pretty much every single goblin a name, and thus therefore they change. Another element in this is that he wants to help fight the direwolves. So the direwolves are now kind of taking over different territories, because Veldora has gone. So every single monster is like, okay, we can do what we want now. It's absolutely fine. So I love the fact that Rimuru uses certain abilities to make defenses. He kills the leader of the direwolves straight off, and I was like, do you know what, that's a really cool thing, because when it comes to leader of the pack, Rimuru goes, oh crap, like they're all going to attack. But they all kind of listened to Rimuru because obviously he took down the leader. He also transformed into them to kind of make them settle down. So they all kind of like join him and they join the goblins. And I genuinely thought, do you know what? That's really cool, because the way that Rimuru kills him is literally has loads of like silk string from obviously when he absorbed one of the other monsters, and thus therefore cuts his head off with a water attack. And I was like, God damn, this is cool. This is something that you generally don't normally see when it comes to more of the older animes or kind of the newer ones. It's literally it's gone straight away, and I was like, holy crap. It then kind of goes into an adventure. If you'd spent more time on the Goblin and Dire Wolf arc, you could easily have said like the next level of adventure is going to happen here, and that's how we're going to kind of do it. And I was like, do you know what? That's okay. It's kind of impressive. Now, there are things in this where it makes me laugh. Now, Rimuru has to get all these clothes and weapons for the Goblin village. They want to get kind of a blacksmith, clothesmith, and stuff like that. Goblins talk about elves and saying like, oh, there's a city quite far that has elves. And I absolutely love Rimuru's vision of what he thinks an elf is and what the elf women are like. Because even though you kind of think, oh crap, it's one of those safe to say animes, it has its kind of the fan service in it, and it made me laugh a lot, because you see Rimuru think about this a lot of time. He still loves boobs, he still loves everything that he could never have in the previous life, which to me was just kind of perfect. So you see this happen quite a few times, and it's nice. It's nice to see that sort of anime. So when Rimuru goes to this city, he meets he's standing in line with, I think it's Gobby, Gobble or whatever, Gobbo, which is like the stupid goblin of the city where no one likes him, etc., etc. And with this, some other people tried to kind of take him on and say you can't get here, get away, slime, and they tried to bully him. But what happens? Rimuru shows them all up and says transforms into a giant wolf, scares the crap out of everyone. Everyone's like, oh my god, what the hell is going on? And I generally thought, cool, I love this. I love the comedy behind most of this. Rimuru is arrested, and with this, he is told that, he has to stay there. They're going to be sentenced, which means they're going to be let go. But Rimuru hears that some people in the mine need help, so Rimuru gives them the best potion. It's from the flowers he's had originally, and then gives it to the people, and it's the best potion, 100% pure, and it heals everything and makes these people great. So then we meet the blacksmith, who is the most powerful blacksmith, the best one in the city, and as says he'd love to help, but he's so busy making swords. So Rimuru gives him Magnerite in pure crystallized form, and thus therefore in the end makes swords for him and says here's 20 copies or 19 copies of this sword that you've made, which is 100%. And I love this because Rimuru didn't have to help whatsoever. He could have just said, hey, guess what we're going to do is I'm just going to make one sword and you help me, and then you come to my village and stuff. But it then kind of moves into the fact they go to a pub, and at the pub they meet all these cute girls, they meet all of this, and Rimuru is really happy. And then you've got the kind of, I think it's vice chancellor, it's a priest that comes in. And this priest is a massive prick. He kind of insults Rimuru and pours drink over him. Thus, therefore, the blacksmith punches him in the face, not Rimuru, but the guy. And thus, therefore, they go against trial and they get exiled. And the king hates the fact that this happened because he wanted to kind of be friends with Rimuru because of what Rimuru can do. And this never happens. So you have this whole kind of thing where he's a Vesta, that's it. The blacksmith hits the Vesta, and it leads in. It isn't quick, but it feels just right. The amount of timing in this, where you can imagine it wouldn't take too long. So with this, we then move into kind of another arc. This is all literally how I'm remembering it. Am I going off script? Yes, I am. Do I care? No, I don't. But it's interesting. Let's say this. Let's say the least on that one. I couldn't speak. The next arc is like previously in the tavern. Rimuru says like gets his fortune told. He has to then kind of be like, oh, you know, this is a girl that you can meet. It's very important to you. You find out that her name is Shizu, and with the 3 adventurers that you see, they have been given a mission to venture out and kind of like scout the land, find out why the dragon has disappeared, and so on and so on. So with this, Shizu joins up, and she's from Japan. She has been summoned, and her backstory is kind of like saddening, and it leads up. So basically her backstory is that she was in Japan. You see her at the very beginning of this anime where she gets summoned, and the main bad guy, which I'm guessing for the series, summoned her and gave Ifrit her body, and thus therefore Ifrit possesses her. She gains power, she's able to use fire, and she is the best person to do this job. With all of this, you find that after a while she decides to quit because she wanted to find out the reason why she was summoned. So she settled down, she helped everyone out, and boom, 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 she joins up. She wants to kill the main bad guy that summoned her, and thus therefore that's her quest. But unfortunately, dear God, it's a lot. She's unable to control Ifrit anymore, and Ifrit bursts out of body, like transforms, and it's basically him. So this entire thing is they're at the Goblin Village. You know, like previously the 3 adventurers and Shizu were pretty much just kind of like being chased by massive ants. She usually does it. That's how she meets Rimuru and all the others, and that is particularly mainly it. There are multiple things. So Rimuru now has to fight Ifrit because Ifrit is causing a load of damage. And I love the fact that the wizard, or I like to think of it as a computer, is pretty much giving sass at multiple times. When Rimuru asks something, you know, you get a oh no type thing. And it made me laugh because it was at the right point of comedy. Like, it was the right parts where you give a bit of banter, and it wasn't just a voice that is just there for information. It felt like it had its own personality. And I love this. I love this in anime, that you get these like kind of like banter moments that are just absolutely perfect. Going back to the fight, Rimuru uses Absorb because that's it. It's when Rimuru is about to use the Predator on Ifrit. Rimuru's like, oh my god, no, the pain, the fire. And it's like, oh, I'm okay with this. And that's when the wizard goes, like it's saying like, oh, you're protected by fire. And it's like Rimuru's never listened. I thought it was absolutely perfect all the way through. I was just like, I would love to have that bit of sass in my head all the time. I think that would make this absolutely perfect. It moves into, so as soon as like Ifrit's been defeated, Rimuru has the abilities, which causes Shizu to like start passing on because there's nothing keeping her alive anymore. So Rimuru absorbs her and then therefore is able to take the form. Now it's kind of interesting because Rimuru is pretty much, I think, just unisex. He has no genitals, so he's neither a man or a woman. So he can easily turn himself into which one he wants. So you kind of see the whole thing of like where he's older as a man and then older as a woman, and he freaks out because he thinks he's kind of peeping on Shizu when obviously he's not. So he keeps this kind of like normal form, which is kind of cool anyway. And then therefore it moves into this whole thing of an orc army kind of moving in. These orcs are kind of coming around. They want to kind of destroy things because you notice this other bad guy who has been able to turn these pigmen, these orcs, into these bad guys, and they run around a bit. So they're kind of coursing towards the main part of the building. And with all this kind of going on with the Orkmen, you get more of an alliance between lizard men, and then obviously there's a bit of betrayal. Now there's this prince one that really annoys the crap out of me. So I think his name's Gabaru, and I think that's who I'm getting confused with Gabata. So I think if it is Gabaru, but Gabaru is like this prince. He's like, you shall fall to me, you shall do what you want. I don't do this. And I look at my impressive. Everyone's like, oh my god, so good. But I love the fact that Gabata or Ganta literally just KOs him straight away. And it's like, oh, they cheated. Like, you can't hurt royalty, I'll defeat them. And I generally hate this majority of how these bad, like this prince is just being a massive prick all the time. So I generally wanted him to kind of disappear. But he then takes over his father's realm, and because he thinks he knows best, but obviously doesn't. And it's kind of cool because you see, like, soon after you have the Ifrit battle and you have Rimuru absorbing Shizo, etc., etc., you meet these kind of other characters that want to defeat the goblins, and they're angry because a Margin came in and took over and like beat the crap out of them. So they kind of follow. Now, you meet other characters in this, and I have to admit, some of it's kind of fun. So you meet these like whole new warriors that are super strong. They've taken over the goblins, they've beaten the goblins, and you kind of think, oh, you're such a massive prick. And there's a lot of fighting. Rimuru obliterates all of them with not even a second thought, but he doesn't kill them. He literally beats them into submission. So therefore they join, he gives them names. Now, because they're so much more powerful than goblins and stuff, he goes into a 3-day kind of cooling rest, and it's something so different because when Rimuru uses all his powers and stuff, or his magnites or spells, cules, or whatever it is, magicules, that's it. He has to kind of recover. So these kind of characters have turned from like, we're enjoying you for a little bit, to the part where we're now your friends, and you're going to see them all the way through the anime. I really want to know what happens in part 2. But one thing that kind of really interested me was Shino and the princess, and I love that kind of banter where in this, Shinon is basically she's got, you know, she's the fan service of the group, you know it is. She's a lot older now, she's wearing a secretary outfit, and therefore she is bad at cooking, and everyone's like, oh my god, no. So with this, like, you meet other characters, but I love the princess and Shinon's like kind of banter. It's like, oh, I really want to spend time with Rimuru, he needs to spend more time with me, you don't need him that much, I need to help him. And it was just banter, which I loved. And it could be a love triangle, which I do hope kind of happens, because I think that would be kind of really cool. Gabiru is one character I really don't like, and it's this lizard prince who thinks he's the best character because he did something and everyone must love him. And it generally royally fucking pisses me off, because it's like, oh, you shall all bow down to me, bow down to your leader, I am thing, you will serve us. And I really wanted Rimuru just to go absolutely like 100% kicking the crap out of him, but instead it's Gabata or Gampa, the goblin that is no one really likes that much. So he takes them down, and therefore it leads into the lizard men or lizard people who are now facing against a bigger threat, which would be the orcs or the pigmen that are now coming. So you find out that there's this guy who gives them these names, and this interesting thing with the I think I want to call them orcs, but they're not orcs, but these pigmen. If they eat other pigmen that fall down and die, they gain the abilities that that person has. I was like, oh dear God. So when this lizard prince overthrows his father, locks him away, he thinks that he is in charge and he could send out all the stuff, like all the people, to this marshlands. So when his forces get beaten, he freaks out because he didn't see it coming. And I'm like, typical anime trope, damn it. It just literally irritated me the most. And it ends on a cliffhanger for part 1 where you want to see more, and what's going to happen next, because Rimuru is going to absolutely demolish them all, and that's going to be a good thing. So it ends very abruptly for part 1. So part 2 is I'm looking forward to it, or I'm going to continue watching the series on Funimation, so I can get behind. So season 2 comes out, so I'm 100% ready for it. Now, what this anime is like, what my thoughts on it is, it's a good one. It kept me wanting to watch more. Like, I watched all of this within a day, and I was normally going to just take clip notes and talk about it, but I watched the whole thing through a day, and it is perfect. It is a great anime that I would highly recommend. It's one that hasn't really been done. Like, yeah, we got isekai animes in the past, but I absolutely love this. It was full of suspense. I would say the only down thing is the kind of how Rimuru is overly powered. Like, I would have put at least a bit of limitation on him, the whole thing of like he has to sleep for 3 days because of naming wasn't a big thing. But you know, I kind of want to see a little bit more, because he could just absorb everyone, get their abilities, and just be completely godlike in it, and you cannot touch him at all. I feel like some of the fights in this were way too quick. Like Rimuru would just finish it off. Like I would have liked to have seen Rimuru struggle a little bit against Ifrit or any of the other bad guys that came up, because he's new to it, but it feels like he could just cakewalk everything, that nothing could really stop him. And that kind of was a big thing. But I love these battles. They seem kind of genuine, but you know, sometimes it may have been a bit slow when it was talking, like, you know, with the goblins, etc, etc. To me, this is worth picking up. It is 100% worth it. Picking up part 1, part 2, or even if they've done a complete season by now, is, if you see this, I would definitely watch it. If you see it on Funimation, I would watch it on that one too. So this to me is one of the better ones that they've done, and I would highly recommend it all the time. So I am going to leave it there. What are your thoughts? Have you seen this anime before? Would you watch it? Yes or no? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you like this sort of content and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.